All right.
We're rolling.
We're rolling.
Okay. Well, this is our fourth. Welcome to the show. I always say we, because of course I can never do this without Alec. Alec was just on vacation, you know. You're not on film, right? Or you
Here,
can
I'll
get yourself.
get myself going here right now.
Yeah, go ahead.
There we go. I'm live.
All right, good. So you're in Boca Raton.
Yeah, I went to Boca and then
Nice, yeah.
drove down to It's so nice.
Yeah.
Drove down to Miami Beach for the day.
Uh-huh.
Saw the
Cool.
Eden Rock, which was
Right.
referenced in the
We
previous
were
episode.
talking about,
yeah.
Well, Miami Beach is beautiful.
Oh,
Collins Avenue is beautiful. In fact, I did a little something for someone. In fact, his name was Alex. He was a publisher for a stewardess magazine, and he was building a boathouse. But he was building it in an area where it was very reasonable to rent. But when he was all done, he moved it to Collins Avenue because there's boathouses right across from the hotels.
yeah.
There's that, I guess that waterway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of interesting. Miami's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, this week we'll discuss how our path in life. Now, the only thing that really counts is today, our path for tomorrow. Of course, hopefully there's going to be a tomorrow, you know, because I believe that there's no path to yesterday. So our topic is going to be how, for instance, when I was younger, the old timers would always say, if only I knew then what I know now. But then again, you know, that was yesterday, so it doesn't count. So I try, in fact, as you get older, you learn things about, especially words. Words are so important. You know, William Penn, I think, it was William Penn who said the pen was mightier than the sword. And but there's nothing more powerful than the spoken word. Okay, and it can't be taken back. So it's important what you say. So I try never to use the words if, should have, or could have. And I hate the word worry because I found out that it derives from a Latin prefix which means to strangle. Try paying a bill with worry. Try curing a disease with worry. You can't. Okay? So now we're going to talk about today and tomorrow and the future. I'm constantly hearing people. I've got a relative, very close, who basically lives in the past, a little too much. I've had words with him, and I've told him over and over not to do that, you know. So, but I'm not going to mention his name, okay? But it's often people are concerned about yesterday. In fact, I've got this thing about parenting. Parenting is the most important job on earth. You know, so I hear a lot of young people talk about they come from a dysfunctional family or their parents this, their parents that. And I say, hey, you got a life. Do something with it. And I'll bring this up, okay? The guy who started Domino's was an orphan. Okay, didn't stop him. Dave, the guy that started Wendy's, he was an orphan. So it's really irrelevant where you come from. When you become an adult, you are in control. Okay? So if you live in the past and you think about the regrets or you think about how you were raised or you're criticizing your parents and all, it's very common for someone to learn that as you get older, your parents become smarter. Okay? But now, getting back to the only thing that counts is tomorrow. And what you do today. If you think about it, you can get up in the morning, any morning, and say to yourself, from now on, I'm going to be this way or I'm going to do this, etc., etc., etc. Nothing stops you from doing what you really want in life. Okay? We're not dogs. We're not animals. We don't go by instinct. We go by thought. If you think about how good life is, then you do things with it. In other words, have something to look forward to. Like me, for instance, I look forward to this show every week. It's something I look forward to. I tell young people all the time, try to have something to look forward to, okay? And, I hate to use the expression water under the bridge, but that's what it is. The past is water under the bridge, okay? So let's think about, who I wanted to mention? I want to mention, we're doing this in Memphis, so, whoever else sees this show, but there's a George Flynn in Memphis. He's pretty well known. He owns radio stations, television station, and I think he patented something, ultrasound, or I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I don't
about
know
that. But once in a while, I'll go through the television here in Memphis, and he comes on, and he talks about positive things. And I heard him make one comment about someone who is 50 years old, and he's been working a job that he doesn't like. But he says to himself, well, I've only got 15 years to go before I retire. And he's making a comment. He's saying 15 years is a long time, trying to find something you like to do. Okay? You can't look at, in other words, well, I've been there for 25 years, another 15 years, but, So, in other words, it's important to look to the future and find things you want to do, Let's put it this way. If I lived my life having regrets or thinking about the past, or the time I came across the country in 1978 and land in Arizona was selling for $100 an acre, it makes me sick, so I try not to think about it, Because I said to myself, okay, you had to buy a minimum of 10,000 acres, which was, $10,000, 100 acres. You had to buy 100 acres. But I said to myself, you need a helicopter. I didn't have a helicopter. So I said, forget about it, okay? But there's a lot of things, The word curmudgeon is an interesting word. Now, the word curmudgeon to me pertains to older people that get older and regret things they haven't done. And I don't know why, but they become nasty or bitter or callous or, angry. But they're mostly angry at themselves for not doing the things they wanted to do. So why not do the things you want to do? Okay? We all have demons, but sometimes, maybe you're better off keeping them under control than getting rid of them. Because if you live a frustrated life, what good is it? Okay? So, all right, now let's talk about tomorrow. Like, for instance, look at me, for instance. I am 71 years old, okay? Now, I think about Trump is 72, 73. How old is Trump?
I think he's 70.
Yeah, 72, 73.
73, yeah.
Yeah, I think Joe Biden is about 76.
Yeah.
Reagan became president when he was 72, So when you think about it, look how much more I have, and I'm 71. Okay? Now, young people who are like, say, in their 30s, like Alex is, that's a lot of time to go, you see. Now, I don't have a someday. At my age, people my age can't have a someday, see. So why look at the past and look at the mistakes you've made, or think about the mistakes you've made, and have regrets? Forget about it. Because it doesn't do any good. So no matter how much time you have left in life, which I don't know, no one really knows, but try to do something every day. In other words, do something today, do something tomorrow, have something to look forward to. And, when someone says, how's your day so far? I'm starting to say, try missing one. They're precious. Days are precious, minutes. Why don't you calculate, okay? There's 60 minutes, forget seconds. There's 60 minutes in an hour. There's 24 hours a day, Okay? Get out a computer, a calculator, and calculate how many minutes there are a year. And think about how many minutes you have during a year for you to do things and for you to live. A minute's a long time sometimes. I think, what do they get? $4 or $5 million for a 30-second commercial during the Super Bowl?
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a monster. Everything's about advertisement in this country, and probably other countries. When Laverne and Shirley was being aired on TV, I don't know. Did you ever hear of Laverne and Shirley?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah? Okay, good. It was an offshoot of Happy Days, I think. And I can't think of Laverne's brother. He did quite a few movies. He did Pretty Woman. He did. His name escapes me right now. But he was being interviewed by Barbara Walters, and Barbara Walters mentioned that Laverne and Shirley, the actresses, they were getting paid $35,000 per episode. She says, that's a lot of money. He says, well, when you're doing $3.5 million in advertisement, $35,000 isn't much.
Yeah.
So, now getting back to There's No Path to Yesterday. There's things I could have done. I was offered a part on General Hospital by the stage manager in 1979. She said, get an agent and I'll get you a part on General Hospital. Her name was Bojena.
Bojena?
Bojena. And she came in from New York to be the stage manager at General Hospital. And I'm sitting in her place because I had taken her cousin to her house, to her place. She had just moved in on Worcester Boulevard. And her cousin wanted to leave her plants there because she was flying back to New York. So I gave her a ride because I had a station wagon for her plants. In fact, the place was hardly furnished. I'm sitting in a chair, and it's the only thing that was in the living room. She made me a cup of coffee. She was sitting down next to me. We're talking. I told her I took singing lessons. I was born in Italy, this and that. Not bad looking. I'm 29, And she said, get an agent. I'll get you a part on General Hospital. Hey, I lost a lot of sleep over that. I never took her up on it. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But that's the way things are sometimes, okay? So the reason I'm saying there's no path to yesterday, because no matter how much I think about those things, there's nothing I could do about it. So now I'm 71. Maybe now I'll get a part on General Hospital. Is it still running, General Hospital?
I think
it was
so.
out
I don't know. I think
40
so.
years
Yeah.
or something. It's amazing how people love those soap operas.
Yeah.
It's just a story. It's about life. That's why I specifically always say to Aldo about writing and all. It's just a story. When they started Bluff City Law, right? That was the name of the show, Bluff City Law? Okay. Now, I said to myself, it's terrible. I wish him well. Anyone who goes into a venture or a new enterprise, I wish well. Because, I know how difficult it is to start something. But I don't want to say I told you so, or I want to say, I knew it wasn't going to work. Another law show, ludicrous. Ludicrous. How smart can they be? They know they have all the answers, and that's not the way it is. But if they had named it Bluff City, just Bluff City, now you could do a story every week about different things. I mean, come on. Memphis is on the map, for Christ's sakes. I mean, it's the birthplace of rock and roll. I mean, Elvis Presley recorded a song for 25 cents or a happy birthday to his mother. Wasn't that isn't there one
at
of
the
his
Sun
first
Studio?
recordings?
Yeah, it was super cheap. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like doing things in Memphis. In fact, I was in between whether to start a corporation in the state of Nevada or Memphis for Ecco'la film, but I decided to do it in Memphis. In fact, I was talking to someone today about that. So here I am at 71, and I've got a 5-year plan. I never had a 5-year plan in my life. But that's the way it is. That's the way it is. So the point is that there's always something bright, something a silver lining in everything. In fact, as strange as this might sound to you, I can find humor in death because it's something that you can't do anything about. I've just had something very personal happen to me, and there's nothing you could do about it. It's over. It's like if anybody knows about playing chess, it's like checkmate. There's nothing you could do about it. So now, getting back to Notepad to yesterday. So I'm not here to give you advice. I'm not here to tell you how to live your life, et cetera, et cetera. But remember how precious time is. So to waste it on what you could have done, what you didn't do, or if, could have, and should have, is a waste of time. Don't bother, because everybody goes through it. All right? That's good. How we sound so far?
Sounds
okay?
great.
Yeah.
I love this theme of No Path to Yesterday. The General Hospital story was excellent.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
And guess what? I went to Hollywood years later, and I checked her out. I went to the Directors Guild. She became a director.
Really?
Yeah. Well, Jenna, at the time, was about 28 years old. And she explained to me that if the director, as far as the stage manager goes, where you have, position, did you move over here, you walk through that door, and if she gave directions to the actor, it was one thing. But if the director gave direction, they'd have to pay him more. It was a little technicality.
Yeah.
But, and I quote, get an agent and I'll get you a part on General. Agents run Hollywood.
Yeah.
Okay. That was pretty cool, the picture you sent me of your father watching TV. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, of course, you're his son. He's proud of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And
he's always been a fan of yours since he met you. So
that's wonderful. It's wonderful. So anyway, I was just in New Jersey for a couple of weeks. I drove there. It was a pleasant ride. I drove with my youngest son there. He napped, I napped. We talked, and the ride was a breeze. On the way back, my first day wasn't bad because I stay overnight. My first day wasn't bad. The second day was nasty. A lot of rain, dark, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I would just want to mention one thing. I've driven across this country 10 times. I've never seen so many trucks, so many 18-wheelers on the road. So when, suppliers with grocery stores, or when they say this price was raised and that price was raised, but they're using COVID to pump up the prices of everything. It's kind of sad, but it's like, and they pass it on. Somebody adds 10%, somebody else adds 10%, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, but I've never, in all the years I've driven across this country, seen this many trucks. So I don't think it has anything to do with being supplied with material or food or products, et cetera, et cetera. It's just a way to use COVID to pump up the prices. Being that I've in the building business, et cetera, for now. A sheet of OSB plywood that I used to buy for $10 is now $20. I mean, it's ludicrous. It's supply and demand. That's the way it works. Good thing we don't have to pay for air. We'd be in a lot of trouble. when bottled water started being used all over the world. My uncle in Italy used to sell a product called Parmalat. And he told my oldest brother that he was making more money with water than milk. Selling water. Huh?
It was called Parmalat?
It was called Parmalat. It was a milk that you didn't have to refrigerate. It had a shelf life of about 6 months.
Mm.
Yeah. That's where I got pulled over in Sardinia. There was a blockade because someone just got kidnapped.
And it turned out to be Getty's?
Well, I don't know if it was Getty's, but the point is that's how I started that story, Sardo,
Yeah.
because of that, you know. And apparently they must give him back. They don't want to kill him.
Yeah.
They just want, like, money.
I don't think we've talked about it on the show. Do you want to give the audience some context to when you got pulled over?
Well, we're driving this truck, and we're in Sardinia, and we're going to a place called Teolada, where actually there's an army base in the neighborhood. And the hill that we were driving through, it was actually like a town on top of it's almost like they cut off the top of the mountain and they built a town. Because the road was called La Strada della Lumaca, which means the road of the snail, because of the way it went. And I remember backing into the warehouse and having to back up, go forward. I had to do it 10 times until I got the truck in position. But the point is that there's these cartons of milk in the truck. The truck is about, I don't know, I'd say maybe 20 feet, the box truck. And the cartons are made out of cardboard, and there's 18 envelopes of half a liter. So there's 9 liter in the carton. It's like an hectagon carton with handles. So they're stackable. So they're stacked right up against the door. So anyway, we're driving. So just before we got to the town, there was a blockade on the road. And in Italy, the police are called carabinieri because they carry carbines. Maybe they should start doing it in the United States, carrying carbines. So anyway, we get pulled over. There's a blockade. And I get out. I'm driving. I show him an Italian passport and an American driver's license. Well, good thing I speak Italian, you know. So, you know, he comes over and he asks me to open up the doors. So I opened up the doors, and the cartons of milk are right up against the door. And he said, "Do you have any bodies back there?" I said, "No." I said, you don't want me to empty it out, do you? You know, being I spoke Italian, I was born there, I got friendly with him. So we started talking, and he told me that someone had just gotten kidnapped. And coincidentally, John Paul Getty's grandson got kidnapped, and he was kidnapped in Sardinia. And I think they cut a small piece of his ear or his finger or something.
Yeah, I think they cut his ear.
Was it a piece of his ear? I don't think they cut his ear off. It was just a little piece.
Yeah.
No, there's something you're missing.
I worked at the Getty Center for a long time.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
A little piece. So he said, "I've got 23 grandchildren." He said, "Let's negotiate." So he gave him $250,000. And it's like me paying $250 to get my son out.
Yeah.
Or my granddaughter, right? They negotiate. So the Sardinian bandits were famous for actually releasing the captives without harm. Okay? So I started a story called Sardo. And in fact, I have Sylvester Stallone in mind to play it. He's older now. I know they could teach him a little Italian. And it's got an interesting twist, because there's a lot of corrupt officials involved, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not going to get into the story now.
Okay.
Yeah. But that happened. And so we went to, and we delivered the milk and everything was fine. Okay? So, but Sardinia is interesting. In fact, when I came back to America, I thought about if someone built highways there and charged the toll, they could recoup the money, make a profit, and then leave the roads to Sardinia. Why not? I think of all kinds of things. So anyway, there's no path to yesterday. Okay, so marriage is like that. You know, I was listening to a song, and the words were, "You're not the man you used to be." So, you know, people grow apart in relationships, you know. So that person that isn't there anymore. So you can't go back, you know. So you got to go forward. So if you don't get along, well, guess what? Go the opposite direction, you know. That's the way it is. So now let's talk about Las Vegas a little bit. Okay? Now, in 1982, I happened to be in Las Vegas when my youngest was 6 months old, 7 months old. And I was actually on my way to L.A., but I stopped in Las Vegas to earn money to make a move to L.A. But in 1982, there wasn't a shovel full of dirt turned over in Las Vegas because Caesars Casino was the biggest grossing casino in Las Vegas. And they did about $300,000 a day. Atlantic City, each casino was doing $1 million a day.
Wow.
Without any problem.
Wow.
In fact, when Trump opened the Taj Mahal, it was said that he had to do $1.3 million a day for the casino to stay in operation. It might have been one of the first $1 billion casinos in the country, if not the world, at the time. Because other than that, the Mirage in Vegas in '88 was $900 million. So, but the point is that, I knew that Atlantic City wasn't a pimple on Las Vegas's ass. Okay? First of all, they weren't very nice to people. Oh, I actually wrote an article for the Atlantic City magazine that said courtesy isn't dead, it's just dormant. But they wouldn't print it.
And it was an article about Vegas or about...
It was about Atlantic City. How they weren't nice to people. They weren't very courteous at all. The casinos just wanted you to go in, go broke, and leave. There was nothing for you to do. Nothing at all. So getting back, there's no path to yesterday. When resorts went into business, just before they went into business, before the referendum, I think the shares were 65 cents. And there was a woman who ended up the chairman of the board. She was an inheritor of Mary Carter Paints. That's who owned resorts at the time. Because her husband had a funeral parlor in Trenton, New Jersey. I'll never forget. And it blew my mind when I read the article that she lived in Trenton, New Jersey with her husband. Now, getting back to regrets, okay? Don't blame anyone. Don't hold any animosity towards anyone because it's a waste of time. Don't hold it against your boss. You hold it against this boss, or if your brother or your sister, or if your friend that helped you out. And, we have an expression in Italian that chi fa per sé fa per tre. It means who does for oneself does for three people. So think of life that way. An old friend of mine who was a accountant used to say to me, there are no excuses. You can just give reasons in life. So don't make excuses and live your life the best you can and go ahead with your program. And if everybody around you thinks you're crazy because you want a plan to do something, then go ahead and do it. The more they say you're crazy, the more you should do it.
I was going to say, too, we started the Las Vegas in 1982 thread, and I don't think we circled back to it.
What did I say about it?
You said, you went to Las Vegas in 1982.
What a terrible time I had there.
Really?
I couldn't get a fucking job. Delivering pizza. There wasn't a shovel full of dirt in the town. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, you said that.
They panicked.
Yeah, you said that. I just didn't know if there was a further story, and then we went over to Atlantic City.
Not really. But what I couldn't figure out was what made them think that Las Vegas was done for.
Yeah.
There was a panic. They thought they weren't going to, because people have to fly into Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Las Vegas, 60% of Las Vegas' business has always been California. always.
Because they can drive.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And they've been talking about a train from L.A. to Vegas for 40 years.
Why do you think they never do it? Because the desert's protected or something?
I don't know. The last I heard was the guy from Virgin Airlines is supposed to be involved. Maybe now it'll get done. You know, it's like it takes leadership. When you invest in a stock market, you're investing in the CEO. Whoever's running the show. When the guy Eisner took over Disney, he put Disney back on the map. Barbara Walters interviewed him because they had a subsidiary called Touchstone Pictures. They made the movie Down and Out in Beverly Hills with Nick Nolte.
Nick Nolte, yeah.
Yeah, Nick Nolte and the singer. I can't think of her name right now. Bette Midler. And Barbara Walters says, "What do you think Walt Disney would say about a woman in one of his films shouting an orgasm?"
That's why they made Touchstone, right? So they could release stuff.
Of course, they
Okay.
created Touchstone so that, you know.
Yeah.
But Walt Disney was no angel.
Yeah.
No, he said, Walt Disney doesn't smoke, I do. Walt Disney doesn't drink, I do. It's a persona. It's like a kid, Andrew Dice Clay, putting on a black leather jacket, making like he was Italian. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Mother Goose, I there, you know.
Yeah.
Just saying all this shit, but it's an act.
Yeah.
It's like anything else. It's like politicians are great actors. Now think about it. When Shakespeare said that the world's a stage and we're all actors, my God, he hit the nail on the head. I think it was, I don't know, I always get them mixed up. I don't know if it was Socrates, Aristotle, or Plato. But one of those three said, it's not the state that's important, it's the individual.
Not the state?
Not the state. It's the individual. That's where democracy started.
Mm-hmm.
The Greeks. You know, Roman aristocracy was descendants of the Greeks. The Julius Caesars. There was that family that originated. Their ancestry was Greek. Greek was spoken, not Italian. You know, and Rome was its own country, not Italy.
Yeah.
In fact, you couldn't even be in the Roman army unless you were from Rome. You know.
And Italy wasn't incorporated until like 1890 or something?
No, Italy came together in like 1500 and something.
Really?
Yeah. A guy by the name of Garibaldi brought Italy together. In fact, Marco Polo was from Venice. He died in the Genoese prison. Columbus was from Genoa, and he died in the Venetian prison, if I'm correct. They were countries at the time. And by the way, Columbus was born in a town by the name of Quinto. Because my son Quinto wanted to change his name to Michael when he was little. But his mother took him to the library. They were studying Columbus. And when he saw Quinto in the book, from then on, I think he accepted his name.
Yeah, it's a cool name.
Yeah. And by the way, I was raised in New Jersey by a park called Columbus Park, Division Street and Chestnut Avenue, or on both sides of Columbus Park. Well, guess what? The statue's not there anymore. They're removing the statues, just like they're removing statues of Robert E. Lee or generals of the South, et cetera, in the South.
Yeah.
Now, Columbus was, I mean, everybody knows who Christopher Columbus is.
Yeah.
But when he left, he didn't know where he was going. When he got there, didn't know where he was. And when he came back, didn't know where he had been. That's a fact.
Yeah.
We ended up calling the American natives Indians because he thought he was in the Indies. That's kind of strange.
Yeah.
That, you know, and of course now they're accusing him of barbaric deeds. So we're kind of, I guess we can rewrite history. You know, there's always documentaries about how it really was, or et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Seems like just the kind of the content of whoever was writing the textbooks, that kind of can get more fleshed out as time goes on. Because if you read his journals, apparently, he was just a crazy sociopath type guy.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
Of course, you know. My brother Carlos says it's simple. When someone writes a book, it's their opinion.
Yeah.
It's like excuse the expression, not because you're 30, but a political analyst who's 30, 32. He only knows what he read or what he saw.
Yeah.
He has no real experience in life as far as length goes.
Yeah.
So when someone writes a book about something, he can only write what he heard and what he read, what the news reports.
Yeah.
You know, for instance, if I wanted to read about a certain individual, and if I read 2-3 different books from different writers, I could pretty much put his stories together because they can't all lie the same.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of interesting how if you go on TV, you're smart. It doesn't matter whether you really know anything.
Yeah.
You know, like for instance, if Action News isn't prejudice, why aren't there ever fat, ugly anchor women? I mean, you know, sex sells. That's the way it is. They design cars by that. They design clothes by that. Everything has to do with sex appeal. Okay? I mean, now we're getting off the subject, but they always claim that these games don't affect children. All these zombie games, the killing and the shooting. Well, if they don't affect children, then, or if they don't influence children, then why advertise?
What do you mean? Why do they advertise the games?
Advertise. You advertise cereal, you advertise shoes, you advertise clothes, you advertise to get people's attention. But the people who make these games for kids say it has nothing to do with influencing those children.
Yeah.
Well, if you're not influencing them, then you shouldn't advertise.
Yeah.
You follow what I'm saying? You are influencing them.
Yeah.
You know?
I think if you're influencing them to buy cereal, it's a little different than like the playing the game is going to influence them to kill somebody, right?
No, but they keep saying that it doesn't influence them.
Yeah.
But you are influencing them.
Yeah, that's true.
In a way.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, there have been a lot of chaotic things that have happened with these schools, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. Did it influence them? I don't know. But you're advertising the influence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the games are all about killing. It's like in my stories, in other words, I've discussed this with Aldo, you got to kill somebody to make the story interesting. and you have to have someone in the story that's, how do you say, the bad guy all the time. You have to have a bad guy. You have a good guy. It's like interesting that you can't do a Ozzie and Harriet today. I don't know if anybody knows who Ozzie and Harriet is, but it was a couple with 2 boys, and they were on TV. In fact, he was from Ozzie Harriet was from Newark, New Jersey. Ricky Nelson's Nelson was her last name. Ricky Nelson, who was a singer. You've heard of him?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Well, Ricky Nelson's father and mother and his brother, Dave, they did a show on TV about their life. So reality shows have been going on forever. Now we call them reality shows. But that's, they did some stupid things. Maybe the neighbor's garage door didn't open. The whole show was around the garage door not open. Like Martha Stewart does a whole show on framing a picture. It doesn't matter. You put it on TV. Don't watch it.
Yeah.
I think one of the first motion pictures they ever took was of a train moving silently. So people would go and see the train move because it was exciting because film was new. Now you have to have a car go through a building, jump into another building, or now they do the ninja movies where they're flying through trees. I can't imagine if people are flying through trees. I forget somebody told me about this one movie that was supposed to be pretty good. I put it on, and there's people with swords in their hands flying through trees. I couldn't find it interesting, you know. So anyway, don't have any. Everybody has regrets in life, you know, and I've never met anyone that doesn't have regrets. I've never met anyone that doesn't have a problem, you know. So, and I see it this way. If you dwell on a problem, you're never going to solve it because you're not thinking about the solution, you know. My father used to say the only thing you can't fix is death because that's done. That's checkmate. You know, it's all over and there's nothing you could do about it, you know. The people that are left behind, you know, there's a void. But then again, I've also read on the side of a barn in New Jersey. I went through this town for some reason, and I don't know, I got lost. And there was these big black letters across these buildings that were white, and these big black letters. And one of them said, if you think you're indispensable, put your finger in a bowl of water and take it out and look at the hole you leave. I love that.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Another one said, if you're afraid to take the big step, no, don't be afraid to take the big step because you can't cross the chasm in 2 small steps because you fall in, right? I don't know where this town is. I can never find it again. It was just like I felt like I was in a Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
And it had to do most likely with religious. It was something religious it had to be. Mm-hmm. But I love that. Put your finger in a bowl of water, take it out, and look at the hole you leave. That's why I started to say, we're as important as a grain of sand on a beach in the whole scope of things. And as science becomes advanced, we're finding out we're not the only solar system at all. So how many solar systems are there, you know? And I was thinking about something the other day. I'm watching the sunset on my ride. And I was seriously thinking, the sun don't set. The world's turning. The sun don't set. The sun stays there.
Yeah.
Everything revolves around the sun. The sun don't move. How's it going to set if it don't move? When you sat down, if I sit down this cup, I'm sitting it down. Now, if the sun's here, it can't set. So, just a thought.
Yeah.
The sun doesn't set.
Yeah.
At all. Because the world's turning and it looks like the sun's setting, but it doesn't really set.
Thinking about space, did you ever see anything crazy out in Las Vegas? Area 51 kind of stuff?
No, you know what? I'm going to dispel all that myth. Because no one has ever come up with an iota of evidence of anything on this planet that wasn't made here or isn't from here. The best they can do is maybe a meteorite that fell. And when I was a kid, I saw one fall. I could never find it. I was on my uncle's porch in Sardinia. I was about maybe 7, 6. And I seen this thing hit the ground.
Really?
Yup. I mean, I saw it hit the ground. I could never find it. Maybe it disappeared. Maybe it buried itself. But no one has come up with anything. And if they're... Okay. What are we, a game? That somebody's playing a game with us, like a chess game?
Simulation.
Some intelligent beings. You
yeah.
know? I thought of an interesting story about intelligence. I can't come up with a name. A kid's playing in a parking lot in school. And a bubble, it almost looks like a bubble, comes down. And the child enters the bubble. And the man in the bubble is his father, but he's from another planet.
Mm.
It's an intelligent thing, like to create leaders. Because the world lacks leaders. Why do we have nuclear weapons to kill 10 million people? Somebody give me an answer. Why? Because so-and-so has them and so-and-so has them. It's a shame I'm 71 or else I'd walk across the country until they ended nuclear weapons. They don't make sense.
Yeah.
How could you have respect for leadership that has nuclear weapons to kill 10 million people? I mean, who are these people? Here I get sidetracked.
Yeah, but what was there anything else about the kid going into the bubble that they just train?
In other words, now he
leaders?
goes all over. He's got other children.
Okay.
We're trying to produce leaders.
Mm-hmm.
It's a higher intelligence. I don't know. I just thought of it a long time ago.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just a higher intelligence. What could it be called? The seed?
Yeah.
You know what it's like? It's like in Greek mythology. Hercules was supposedly the son of Zeus with a human being.
Yeah.
Greek mythology is awesome. Over and over and over, they had the children of gods. In other words, women had bare children of gods.
Yeah.
And I thought about this too. In other words, a woman can be pregnant and be a virgin.
How's that?
Well, because you can inject her with a hypodermic needle.
Ah.
And by the way, women are my favorite people. My mother has 6 sisters. So this is for women. It's a funny thing, but women don't need men. All they need is a sperm bank. We are screwed. If there was no women on earth, then we're screwed. But women can get rid of all the men, all the males, and then start fresh.
It's true.
Because that's why I always say, and I always ask this question a lot to women. I say good women are hard to find, but good men are harder to find. And I've had every woman agree with me.
Yeah.
Except one. I'm not going to mention her name. But she's very close to me. So, But it's interesting because I have like foresight about things. I can see things before they happen. Like I knew they were going to make a movie about gladiators before they did it. And my next one was Amazons. But it worked out a lot of different science fiction more so. I want to do a story where it's a little different.
Yeah.
Where Amazons rule, et cetera, et cetera. But of course that, there was a comic book about the girl with the...
Wonder Woman?
Wonder Woman.
Queen of the Amazon?
Yeah, she had a lasso.
Yeah.
And she had an invisible plane.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting how heroics are popular in movies. Everybody wants to be a hero.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that the Batman, Superman, how they took off, in other words, and how the mega, not millions, but billions of dollars that Marvel, the comic books, now I don't watch them because to me it's kind of like, I don't know, too, I don't know if it's spacey or too, I don't know.
Is it too like Coca-Cola Disney for you?
Too much. Too much. I
Overproduced?
couldn't watch the story Columbo on TV. It was too smart with that raincoat and he could figure everything out. TV shows, detective shows, I can't stand them. Because in reality, there's a very, very small percentage of murders that are solved. Well, I mean, as far as, technology goes with crime, technology isn't going to solve crime. The only thing that's going to solve crime is education. And the cancer on society is ignorance and poverty. There's nothing worse than poverty. We just had a window broken in one of the vans inside the lot. I don't know if somebody climbed the fence, threw a rock through the window to get into a van. Doesn't make sense, It's a sad thing that we live in a society where ignorance still exists. It shouldn't at this time. It shouldn't. When Gandhi was asked what he thought about Western civilization, he said it would be a good idea.
I like that. I've never heard that.
Yeah. Now, the word, I'm into words. I've talked about it on the other shows about words. You know, I like words. And look up the word civilization. It's an interesting word. I mean, there's no real definition of civilization. Civilization is about people getting along. I look at it this way. At one time, one family attacked another family and killed the men, ate the children, and raped the women. Then those families became a village. One village attacked another village and did the same thing. Then the village became a town, the towns became a city, the cities became a state. That's civilization. Civilization is all about people getting along. It's all about, like I always say, that family structure is the backbone of civilization. Without it, there is no civilization. Because a family man doesn't want to hurt anybody because he doesn't want anybody to hurt his family. I mean, that's the bottom line. There's a lot of reckless people we can't do anything about. The guy who climbed up on a tower in Texas and shot all those people. Someone who goes into a building and shoots people and then he shoots himself. I always think about, why don't he just shoot himself first? You know, eliminate all that bullshit, you know. But then the Freud tried, and even to this day, no one's going to figure out the inner workings of the human mind.
Yeah.
Or why someone turns evil. You know, but you know, maybe I'll live long enough to see world peace. Hopefully, I will. Probably, if I move to Sardinia, I might live to be 100. You know, I eat goat cheese and drink wine and eat grapes. You know, and soak into the Mediterranean.
That sounds like heaven.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I told you a story about the guy who went to. He goes to the gates. It's a little foggy. You know, and he sees a guy in a white robe with a beard, and he looks and he thinks maybe that's St. Peter. I'm Catholic, so that's what I know. So he said, aren't you going to open up the gates and let me enter the Garden of Eden? And St. Peter says, what are you talking about? He says, you just left it. We paved it. They just paved it. So that's the appreciation of life. That's why I'm talking about have no regrets. I mean, everybody's going to make mistakes, except politicians can't make mistakes. Now, if politicians make mistakes, they're out of the running.
Yeah.
They can't be human.
Yeah.
But they are human. So how do you become a politician and have a blemish? You can't. Can you live a perfect life? I don't think so. You know. Now they're talking about who's making money from this China, who's making money here, who made money in Iraq, you know. Here I go again with politics. Hey, let's get some poor people in politics. Let's pay them more. A politician's pay stinks. Let's pay politicians more. Maybe we'll get some poor people that have good minds, because politics is about governing people, not money. You know, so I was discussing Mitzi Shore, with my nephew, because he had watched the special. Now you might not know who Mitzi Shore is, but Pauly Shore you might have heard of, and
that's her son, right?
Correct. Now he runs the Comedy Store in L.A. and she had the biggest brick and mortar comedy store in the United States, but the Improv was more popular because it was on TV. He maneuvered. You know, to get on television. In fact, the Comedy Store was at the Dunes where I was staying, and the Improv was at the Riviera, which is now taken down. But she asked me to go there one time and spy
on the Riviera,
at the Improv.
Oh, okay.
I was on that stage, the Improv, with the
in
piano
Vegas?
and the brick wall. No, in L.A.
Oh, in Hollywood?
Yeah, I stepped up on stage, right, for about 30 seconds, and I said, you got to have a lot of balls to get up on this stage. And that's all I said for 30 seconds, and I got off. I left.
Were you just nervous?
Sure, I was nervous. And the worst part is I sold this watch for gas money. I sold a watch, which I liked. A Matthew Thissett watch for gas money, so I can go there. So they could put my name in a coffee can and pick it out whether they were going to interview me or not.
Wow.
Because the first time they didn't pick out my name. The second time they did. But by the time I got on stage, there was 2 people in the audience. The
Yeah.
guy who was interviewing and one of the comedians or wannabe comedians,
Yeah.
Because I seriously thought, get a laugh, get a check,
Yeah.
And, I mean, they're making some serious money.
Yeah. Don't you think that's kind of the life of the comedian is that kind of humiliation and rejection over and over again for years until you succeed?
Oh yeah,
It's a tough life.
I went to the Hotel Hyatt in Princeton, New Jersey, with Quinto's mother one time to watch a comedy show, and there was one kid. I felt so bad for him. She said, "Can you give him some money?" So I gave him a $5 bill. I remember he was carrying a duffel bag, all droopy. I see him on TV all the time now.
Really?
Well, sure, because it's a matter of getting in the trenches and staying there, no matter what happens. It doesn't matter if you're funny. It's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Because eventually you'll come up with something. And if you hang in there enough, if you're seen enough, it's just like a TV personality. They really don't do nothing, but they're on TV.
Yeah.
That's what they used to have the what you call that show Tic-Tac-Toe and What's My Line years ago.
Hollywood
They
Squares.
weren't really stars or anything, but they were TV personalities.
Yeah.
People who got around. Maybe they hung out in restaurants with stars and this and that, became friends, went to a party, and those TV shows made a lot of money because it's like Dick Clark used to do what was that called? Pyramid,
Yeah.
right? He used to fly to New York and do all 5 shows in one day.
Really?
He used to fly there on a Saturday. Probably had his own jet, so it's no big deal. It's a hop and a skip, right? 4.5 hours, 5 hours, you're there. You do all 5 shows in one day. You make a pay. And he always had someone on there who was a celebrity of some sort, et cetera, et cetera. And it's big money. And any of those shows where they're not paying a game show, where they're not paying stars, for instance, it's all about budgets. It's like that movie The Irishman that was done lately, where Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, et cetera, et cetera. Now, supposedly Netflix paid $200 million to have that movie made. I figured $150 million went to payroll.
Yeah.
They didn't spend $50 million to make that movie. Why do you think I want to make film? That's ludicrous. They're taking a ride. They're stopping to pick up envelopes. That is ridiculous. That is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And the American public sucks it up.
That's a Scorsese movie, right?
Yeah. Well, sure. He milked and milked and milked.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah. De Niro looks old when he's young. A lot of it was, I don't know. They just don't do that. Drive across the country, stop in a jewelry store, and the guy gives you an envelope. You don't do that. First of all, if you did do that, you'd send somebody to pick it up. You don't go yourself to go pick up an envelope so you can get busted. You have to have a buffer in that business. That's in The Godfather. Guy says, "So you're a buffer?" He goes, "Yeah, that's right. I'm a buffer." Between like Don Corleone or Al Pacino in the movie, He says, "Yeah." He says, "I'm a buffer." It's a lot of silly things because people don't know. It's just like, in fact, I want a retraction on one of my podcasts. It wasn't called pennies when I was talking about Frankie. It was called Peronis. After the incident, then Nicky Russo bought it and turned it into pennies, which was his daughter's name.
Which was that a restaurant or?
Right. It was called Peronis. I said they were in pennies when Frankie smacked Michael Russo around.
Okay.
It was in Peronis. It was called Peronis. They used to hang there. Then eventually, after that incident, Nicky Russo ended up taking it over and calling it pennies after his daughter. In fact, I know the guy that built that building. And when he got divorced, he sold it to his wife. He was a bootlegger back in the day.
Really?
Yeah. Sparky. Lucidi. In fact, I lived in a house where in the neighborhood where the tub was 4 feet because it was done during World War II. So we're using the metal for ammunition and to build planes and tanks. So they shortened. The average tub in America is 5 feet. During World War II, they started making them 4 feet.
Mm.
And he told me they used to make bootleg booze in that tub. Sparky. Yeah. He was an interesting individual. Friend of my father's, too. But anyway. All right. So now, getting back to, we started out no path to yesterday, which there isn't. You can't retract a minute. So it's important what you say. It's important to walk away from your loved one in a good manner. Kissing your wife goodbye when you go to work. Kissing her when you come home. Because sometimes you will never see them again. It happens constantly in life. So be nice to each other. Okay? So, one more time. There's no path to yesterday. Think about what you're doing today. Think about what you want to do tomorrow. Okay? So, I toast to life. And I wish you well. Be happy. And thanks for listening. All right? That's all. Goodbye.